The Great Caliber Deception. Why the .40 Smith & Wesson refuses to die. Let's talk about the biggest echo chamber in the firearms community. Back in 2015, every major law enforcement agency decided to ditch their .40 caliber sidearms. They jumped ship back to the 9mm. The used gun market was suddenly drowning in police trade-ins. Prices absolutely tanked. And if you listen to the keyboard commandos on the forums, the .40 Smith & Wesson was officially 6 feet under. Well, here we are in May 2026. I was just walking down the aisle at my local shop yesterday. Guess what is still sitting on every single shelf? Every major manufacturer is still cranking it out. Every week at the range, I see guys running it. Right now, you can pick up a rock-solid, duty-proven Glock that some cop trusted his life to. It's got night sights, 3 mags, and a little bit of holster character. You can walk out the door for maybe $280 to $350. Meanwhile, a brand new 9mm version of that exact same piece of polymer? You are looking at $540, easy. So, let's inject some reality into this situation. Buying up these surplus guns are complete fools, throwing their hard-earned cash in the fire. Or, they know a tactical advantage when they see one, and the internet missed the memo entirely. By the time we finish this breakdown, you are going to see exactly where the truth lies. The Bureau, the blame, and the birth of a caliber. Let us rewind the tape to understand this mess. 1986, the infamous Miami shootout. A 9mm slug stopped literally 1 inch short of a bank robber's heart. He stayed in the fight. We lost 2 FBI agents that day. The Bureau pointed the finger squarely at the 9mm cartridge. They conveniently ignored the outdated projectile designs they were using. They also glossed over the fact that their guys brought unarmored bodies and service pistols to a rifle fight. But that tragedy birthed the .40 Smith & Wesson. It was essentially a downloaded, chopped-down 10mm. Gave cops more stopping power than a 9mm, and a higher magazine capacity than a classic .45. For 25 years, it was the undisputed king of police holsters. Then, the engineers got to work. Projectile technology took a massive leap forward. We got loads like Federal HST, Speer Gold Dot, and Hornady Critical Duty. Suddenly, the 9mm was matching the .40 caliber in ballistic gelatin. The penetration was identical. The expansion was right there with it. Plus, the 9mm was cheaper to shoot, gave you more rounds in the mag, and was easier on the wrists. So, the FBI went back to 9mm, and the rest of the country played follow the leader. The gel test illusion case closed, right? Not quite. Because that whole switch was built on a massive, glaring assumption. It assumed that hollow points always perform exactly like they do in a sterile laboratory environment. I've been shooting for decades, and let me tell you, the real world doesn't play by lab rules. Independent testers took over 140 defensive loads, 9mm, .40 caliber, .45, and .380 ACP. They shot them through heavy layers of winter clothing, denim, fleece, the works. And what they found completely shatters the gel test illusion. A shocking number of those premium hollow points got plugged up with fabric. The cavity filled with denim, and the bullet never opened. It punched straight through the target, exactly like Full Metal Jacket practice ammo. One major ammo maker actually admitted that their hollow points fail to expand about 1 out of every 3 times they hit a barrier. 1 in 3. And that is under controlled conditions, not a frantic fight for your life in a dark parking lot. Now think about the physics here. If a 9mm hollow point fails to open, you are poking a tiny 355 thousandths of an inch hole in your threat. It's basically a fast-moving pencil. If a .40 caliber hollow point fails to expand, you are still hitting them with a solid piece of lead that is 400 thousandths of an inch wide. It starts out 12% larger before it even tries to mushroom. The FBI wasn't lying about the data. When both bullets expand perfectly, the damage is basically the same. But when things go wrong, and they go wrong way more often than the industry admits, the .40 caliber's raw starting size is a physical advantage you cannot argue with. The short barrel reality check. And it gets significantly worse when we talk about barrel length. A 9mm hollow point relies heavily on velocity to force that expansion. Velocity requires pressure, and pressure needs time to build inside the barrel. You chop that barrel down, you lose the burn time, and you bleed off velocity. I saw some testing out of late 2025 that proved what a lot of us old-timers already knew. Take a premium 9mm load out of a full-size service pistol, and it looks beautiful. Take that exact same cartridge and fire it out of a 3-inch micro-compact barrel, the expansion falls off a cliff. The bullet acts like a dart and over-penetrates dangerously. The .40 Smith & Wesson plays a different game. It generally utilizes a faster-burning powder, so chopping the barrel down doesn't castrate the ballistics nearly as much. Out of a compact carry gun, the .40 holds on to its lethal effectiveness much better than the 9mm does. Look, if you strap on a massive duty pistol every day, ignore this. But let's be real about the year 2026. Most of you are tucking a tiny 3-inch barrel inside your waistband under a t-shirt. In that scenario, barrel ballistics matter immensely, where the 9mm actually dominates. Now, I am a straight shooter, so let's talk about where the 9mm absolutely dominates. First up, capacity. A Glock 19 holds 15 rounds of 9mm. A Glock 23, which is the exact same physical footprint, holds 13 rounds of .40 caliber. Losing 2 rounds isn't the end of the world, but more ammo is always better than less ammo. But the real killing blow for the .40 was the firearms market itself. The concealed carry landscape has totally shifted to micro-compacts. SIG doesn't offer the P365 in .40 caliber. Springfield won't sell you a Hellcat in .40. Smith & Wesson isn't making a Shield Plus in it either. If you want a modern, high-capacity, ultra-concealable pistol, the industry has forced you into the 9mm ecosystem. The .40 caliber simply got left out in the cold on that innovation wave. Then there is the recoil impulse. Physics is a stubborn thing. The .40 snaps about 30% harder than a 9mm in an identically sized gun. In a big, heavy piece of steel, it's just a firm push. But in a lightweight polymer compact, it wants to wrestle you. Your sights take longer to settle. Your groups naturally widen out under stress. The FBI actually saw their own agents' qualification scores tank because of this. They had to water down their .40 caliber duty ammo just so their guys could hit the paper. And in a self-defense situation, rapid, accurate, consecutive hits are what neutralize a threat. 9mm flat out makes that easier for the average shooter to achieve. Before we get into the economics of this, I want to hear from the real shooters in the audience. Jump down into the comments section right now. If you are still packing a .40 caliber every day, I want to know your personal reason. Don't quote a forum post to me. Tell me why you personally trust it. And if you abandon the .40 for the 9, would anything make you switch back? Keep it honest down there. The economics of trigger time. Let's talk dollars and cents. I just checked the ammo shelves this month, May 2026. Basic full metal jacket 9mm is running about 18 to 22 cents a trigger pull. .40 caliber practice ammo? You are looking at 23 to 30 cents. It doesn't sound like a lot, but if you are burning through 200 rounds a month like you should be, that's an extra 10 to 16 bucks a trip. Over a year, that is a couple $100 you could have spent on a new holster or more training. Interestingly though, your premium defensive rounds, like your Gold Dots or Hornady hollow points, cost exactly the same regardless of caliber. The ammo that saves your life costs the same, but the ammo that builds the skills to save your life is more expensive in .40 caliber. Now, let's look at the bigger picture. The prepper mindset. 9mm is the undisputed king of volume. When supply chains are healthy, it's everywhere. But we all remember the panic of 2020 and 2021. When everyone panics, the most popular caliber vanishes overnight. 9mm was getting scalped for $1 a round. Guys were fighting in the aisles for a single box. The .40 caliber? It was sitting right there on the shelf, collecting dust. Because it wasn't the flavor of the month, the guys who ran .40 could still go to the store, buy a box at a semi-reasonable price, and keep training. In a panic, an unpopular caliber is actually a massive logistical advantage. The prepper hack, multi-caliber redundancy. Which brings me back to those cheap police trade-in Glocks. A used Glock 22 for under $350 is a steal. It is a battle-proven tank of a handgun. But here is the absolute best part, and it's a trick I've been running for years. You buy that 40 caliber Glock. Then, you drop $120 on an aftermarket 9mm conversion barrel. You swap the barrel, you slide in a 9mm magazine, and boom! You now have a gun that flawlessly shoots 2 different calibers. No gunsmithing required. The frame and the slide were over-engineered for the 40, so they handle the 9mm like a dream. For under $500, you have built a multi-caliber weapon system. You can shoot 40 when you want maximum energy. You can shoot 9 when you want cheap range time. And if a panic hits, you can shoot whichever box of ammo happens to be left on the shelf. You are completely insulated from single-caliber supply chain failures. If you are the kind of guy who builds armories instead of just buying one gun, you can buy 3 of these surplus Glocks for the price of 2 new 9mm. The final verdict. So, let's put this argument to bed once and for all. The 40 Smith & Wesson is far from a dead cartridge. A dead cartridge doesn't have endless rows of ammo at the local shop or heavy aftermarket support. It isn't dead. It is just undervalued. Here is my professional takeaway. For 90% of the concealed carry market, 9mm is the smartest choice. It gives you more bullets, less muzzle flip, cheaper training, and access to the best modern micro-compacts on the market. If you run a 9, you are on the right side of the bell curve. But the 40 caliber is the thinking man's wild card. It's for the guy who has put in the range hours and completely mastered recoil control. It's for the guy sitting at a reloading press in his garage. It is for the tactician who sees a $300 police surplus Glock and recognizes an absolute goldmine of versatility. Remember, the FBI made a decision that had to fit 13,000 agents. They had to cater to the lowest common denominator of shooting skill. You are not a federal bureaucracy. You are a free citizen making a choice for your own personal defense. And I will leave you with the hardest truth of all. The caliber stamped on the side of your slide means absolutely nothing if you haven't put the work in. Run your chosen defensive hollow point through your personal carry gun? Does it cycle reliably? Does it group where your sights are pointed? If you are just carrying what some guy on YouTube told you to carry without vetting it yourself, you are setting yourself up for failure. A well-maintained 40 caliber that you shoot with lethal precision beats a trendy 9mm you can't hit the broadside of a barn with. Skill overrides caliber every single time. If you appreciated this breakdown and want to see more hard truths from the range, do me a favor. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and leave a comment down below to feed the algorithm. And keep training.